What is up, everyone? Dominique Henderson here, founder of the Jumpstart Coaching Lab and DJH Capital Management, your YouTube CFP. So we are live on Wednesday for our live stream. So let me know if you're in the chat. Would love to give you some love and kind of shout you out and answering any questions that you may have while we're kind of sitting here. And I don't know, whatever is going on with my technology today. So hopefully I am going live to LinkedIn. Right now I'm getting an error, but it is what it is. You got to keep on rolling. So happy to be here. Always spend this time on Wednesday to kind of help any aspiring financial professionals, existing financial professionals kind of find their way through the maze of all the things that are going on. So would love to have you join the conversation today. Today, we're going to be talking about what I would call the true cost of becoming a financial professional, financial advisor, financial coach, financial consultant, whatever you want to put under that umbrella. They're all the same when you in terms of giving advice to somebody. So I want to talk about all that because I think it will be really informational, enlightening. And I want to bifurcate between cost from a, actual out of pocket, like money, paying money versus in hard cost, right? Versus soft cost. I want to talk about both of those. So I don't have a guest today. It's just got me, but hopefully I will be able to make up for that. And this is really going to be like part one of something I want to do to kind of tease this out, because I get so many questions around what is it going to kind of cost me, Dominique, hard cost and soft cost wise. And I think it's a good subject to talk about because you need to go into this thing eyes wide open if you're going to be a financial professional. And the other thing I would say is that, so this would be part one. Part two is probably going to be a roundtable of me and people that have gone after the CFP designation and passed the test already. And so maybe they're just waiting to use the marks because of experience or something like that. And I want to bring on some people to talk about that. So I think that would be really cool because a lot of my audience, obviously, you guys, if you don't aspire to be CFPs, you definitely aspire to be financial professionals. And maybe you want to go that route. You just don't know enough about it. And so I want to bring some people on to talk about their experience and the cost of that. So that'll be part two. That's going to be next month. So just keep watching. We'll let you know how that is going to pan out. All right. Very good. Okay. So we're going to jump into this today. Let me just make sure that I don't have any questions or anything like that. Give me a thumbs up if you're hanging out with us in the chat. That would be really cool. All right. Here we go. First, hard cost. Hard costs are going to be, and I'm going to go with bare minimum. I don't think it serves everybody to go so far down the rabbit trail with all the things you can do. Maybe I'll tease on that depending on the questions, but I really want to just be like, okay, I just want to be a financial advisor. I just want to be a financial professional. What is it going to cost me out of pocket? Like if I wanted to start tomorrow, that's what I want to go with today. All right. So the first thing you need to do is think about what path you're going to be on. And I talk about this a lot. So path one would be what I would call the traditional path, right? The traditional path is financial advisor. No matter what label you want to put on it, the major differentiation there is going to be that you are regulated because you give investment advice. And I've talked about this before, but just go read the Securities Act of 1940. There are requirements under there by which investment or financial advisors that give investment advice are regulated under. And if you're under that, you're under traditional advice. And so that's a different path. We'll talk about that in just a second. Leave that idea out there. Then you have financial coach. I'm not touching the I'm not touching the investment advice. I'm just going to do budgeting, credit counseling, different, to get your debt management under control, blah, 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 blah. That's not currently regulated, right? And that's the non-traditional path. And that's a path you can go down too. So there's not a lot of hard cost around that, except for the fact that you're going to probably have to get some type of business entity or whatnot. And therefore you will have to probably do like an LLC and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of more entrepreneurial in nature. And we may get to that depending on who asks me questions around it. I do know a little bit that I can tell you there. But let's talk about that other path, the first path that I left hanging out there. because most of you will probably travel that path. Now, first you got exam cost, right? And what exams do I need to take? You need to take the SIE, so the Securities Industry Essentials exam, the Series 7 or 6, depending on who you work for and what you'll be selling. Then you're going to take probably either the 63 or 65. Some firms have you take a combination of those two, 63, 65, which is called the 66 exam. So some combination of those, bare minimum SIE, 6 or 7, and then 63, 65, or 66. Okay. And then depending on the type of firm you work for, you may find yourself doing the life and health insurance exam, which is very common in the industry. So you got basically 4 exams that you can do within 6 months. Like I was given 90 days. Back in the day, I was given 90 days. Now, there was no SIE back in the day, but yeah, I was given 90 days to pass all my exams. And if I didn't pass my exams, then it was like, you're in the wrong field, dude. Get out of here if you don't want to. Because all they do in most cases is they pay you to study. So you got to pass the exams, right? You can't just continue to, collect a draw or a salary or whatever the arrangement is, and not do the exam, not do the work. So that's the part. So you got exam costs. And I would say for the most part, all those exams, most of them are subsidized in that the person that hiring you, the broker dealer that's sponsoring you, will pay for these exams. And so, yeah, Marquez says that part. Yeah, passing the exam. But and thanks for joining, by the way, Marquez. So the deal with that is I think you're going to come out, and I've done an episode on this. So go back and look. I'll have to find this. But I outline all the cost of these, and my notes right here are saying like $470. So I'm just going to go with that. Once you add up all the 130s and 65s and all this other kind of stuff like that, you're going to be about $400 out of pocket for the exams. Okay. Now you got to buy study materials, right? Most places, again, if you're working for a broker dealer that sponsors this is great because they're going to be doing it on their dime versus your dime. But you're going to probably be paying anywhere from $200 to $600 on test prep, whether that's Kaplan or any of the other ones out there, Kaplan Schweitzer or any of the other exam banks. I know for life and health, there's got that 80 banker. So there's all different kinds. And this is far beyond the scope of this podcast to go into all the different ones, which ones are best. That's not a good question to ask me because I took my exam so freaking long ago. I don't remember. And so many people have come up on the market. What you just need to do is do the research, follow their plan, and execute the plan. Like most of these things will work for you because otherwise they would be out of business if people wouldn't pass. What the problem is people buy the material, they wait too late, don't put a plan in place, many different reasons, and then they don't pass. If you're going to pay all that money and invest your time, you need to follow what they say to the T, to the letter. Don't amend anything and then do exactly what they say. Then if you don't pass, you have a good argument to go back and say, give me my money back. All right, so that's that. So then you have study material costs. Then you have other costs like ancillary. So if you're going to be a registered representative for a broker dealer that sells securities, you're going to have to be fingerprinted because you need a U4. U4 is your record for being a securities representative. It follows you everywhere you go, just like your social. So you will have to go get fingerprinted, and that, I don't know, maybe it's $45 or $50 or something like that. I don't know. Sometimes that stuff is subsidized too, but we're just talking about hard costs. So that's a hard cost. So if you do all those things, and I may be forgetting a couple of things, but for the most part, that's going to cover, let's call it 85 to 90% of your cost to become a person that is legally able to render financial advice, specifically when it comes around selling securities. You're done. All right. So however long that takes you, that's what the process is. And those are the hard costs. So let's just call that $1,000, somewhere between $750 and $1,000 out of pocket to get into the industry, hard cost wise, with a broker dealer that wouldn't sponsor you. Now, if a broker dealer sponsors you, or they may have some type of remuneration where they're like, you passed the test, reimburse you, blah, blah, blah. There's all kind of arrangements out there, but that's going to be like the cost. Now let's move a level further with what I feel is probably one of the more popular designations that a lot of people start talking about, which is the CFP, Certified Financial Planner, right? So if you start to go down this path, then you are going to incur some additional cost. And they are definitely extra, because being a CFP does not mean you can give, like, you're not any more qualified to meet the bare minimum of giving financial advice by doing the CFP. The rule is just not written that way. Now, will you be more knowledgeable than somebody that's just done the first part of what we're talking about? Absolutely. But when we're talking about the law, you're no more qualified than the other person. So just know that. Okay, so you got a couple of, and we can just basically go by the 4 E's of the CFP. So you got the ethics. It's not going to really cost you anything. You will pay an annual fee to be a CFP, though. And we'll go over that in just a second. You have the education. That's going to be one of your biggest costs. Then you're going to have the exam, right? And then you got to do the experience, right? So the education is going to run you anywhere from probably about $5,000 upwards to $8,000. And maybe a little bit more. For instance, I know Dalton's program is somewhere in the 6 to 7 range, the guaranteed to pass. And then you have people like Boston University. That's a very reputable program. So and you can find out all this stuff. Just Google CFP education or CFP programs, and you'll find a bunch of them. Or you can go to cfp.net and just look on the education providers, and you can go to each one of their websites to kind of see. But that's a good, healthy range for you to kind of think about, this is what I'm going to be paying for education. Dalton's great in the fact that they got bundles where, and there's a lot to say for other providers. I just took Dalton, so I can speak to that one. But they will bundle the education coursework along with the exam prep, what I think is very, very important. The exam prep, unless you're just really, really good at that type of stuff, and you can, hunker down and study, come up with a plan with all the stuff that you go through. I think it was a really, really good investment to do the guaranteed to pass for me. And so that's going to bump up the cost a little bit. So that's all the educations. And usually what you will have with, and I'll go back to the 7, the 66, and the 65, I would say it's pretty common for your firm to pay for what they call the firm element, or the continuing education, that component that goes along with these exams. But maybe you have to come out of pocket for that. And so that's going to be, a couple of $100 a year. You're going to pay $350, something like that, to be a CFP every year. That's the annual fee. And then you're going to have to pay for your 30 hours of continuing education. That's out of your pocket as a CFP. And those programs range, but you figure 30 hours. Sometimes you can get bundles of 30 hours for like $80 or $70, or you'll go to a conference that'll allow you for hours. So there's a lot of different ways to get hours, but you have to kind of figure, you have to factor that in, because that is a cost of holding that particular designation. Just holding the FINRA 7, 6, 65, most of that stuff will be done through your firm. So that shouldn't be a big cost to you, not as big as CFP. So I would say, bottom line, you're probably out the better part of $1,000 to become a financial advisor. And then you can probably add anywhere from another 100 all the way up to probably about another $500 a year to maintain your licenses, designations, depending on how many you have. Okay. All right. First of all, I would say, and just kind of recapping that before we move to the soft cost, and feel free to put your questions in there. This would be a great time, because before I move on to the soft costs and forget everything I just said, the one thing I will say as an addendum to all that is, this is the reason why I started the Jumpstart community, and I do the virtual mentorship and try to give as much information on these live streams and things of that nature. And there's even, the consulting and coaching component that I have inside the Jumpstart community, because so many people just don't know what they don't know. And so, maybe it's lost on a lot of people. I think it is that why don't you go ahead and get hired by somebody and let them pay for these costs instead of you coming out of pocket, especially if you don't know if this is what you want to do. There's a lot of firms that will sponsor you, or at least reimburse you after you take these exams successfully. So that's just something to keep in mind. These are not checks that you have to necessarily write for yourself. Now you can, but you don't always have to. One of the things that I say for somebody, and I've said this before, so I'm going to be consistent with it, is if you're trying to get into the industry and you want a good signal for people to take you seriously, take the SIE. That's when you're going to, go ahead and take that and get that out the way, pay for that, study that, and do that, because I think that's a really good signal for recruiters, firm owners, people that are in a position to make a decision as far as hiring you. They see that versus somebody else that's trying to get in the industry. That sets you apart. So definitely keep that in mind. All the other ones, sometimes you have to have sponsors, sometimes you don't. I don't think it's a good idea to just be blindly taking exams with the hopes that somebody will hire you because you successfully passed them. No, you need a better plan than that. So that's what I would say there. Hey, Patrick, thanks for joining. Hey, AJ, thanks for joining. What are entry-level companies that will sponsor for the Series 6 or 7? Just about any broker dealer will. I mean, you take, I don't want to name any names specifically, so somebody starts to blow up my email with like, no, we don't do that. But like any broker dealer that is hiring financial advisors as registered reps, registered rep is just somebody that is up under a broker dealer. So you're representing them. So in any case that there is a setup like that, and just pick any big name broker dealer, they have to sponsor you to take the 7. So that means that they have to submit. It's this whole process where they, get your U4, they open up a window so you can take the exam, things. That's all I mean by sponsoring. And any broker dealer does that. Now, whether they will reimburse you for the exam you're taking is entirely up to them. Everybody doesn't do that. So that's just, that's a case-by-case type of deal. But what I would do is I would just kind of, as far as, before I get to the soft cost, but this is a great segue that AJ brought up, is that, when you're doing your research, and I talk about this in the 10 tips guide, I talk about one of the very first things to do is your homework, right? Like you got to know why you want to get in this industry. You got to know who the type of people you want to serve, or you got to know, like model somebody in the industry that you want to be like, try to find a mentor, get into groups like Jumpstart and other these places. So you can start to get the information and then curate down to what's going to apply to you. Like some people can care less about giving investment advice. Like they don't want to manage investments. Then you possibly don't need to go down the field of being a financial advisor. You can just be a financial coach and help people with stuff that pertains to their financial plan, but has nothing to do with investment advice. Start getting that type of knowledge. And so my YouTube channel is obviously a great place to start, but there's other people in the industry that talk about this kind of stuff, maybe not as much as I do, but they still do. And I think there's excellent people that you can follow all along some of the people that I've interviewed on my podcast, and going back through those conversations and just kind of picking up some of the nuggets that we've talked about is a great start. So, very good. I'm going to hit these 2 questions and then I'm going to go to the soft costs, and then we can do Q&A at the end. So Patrick says, studying for the SIE now, it is definitely vital. Most jobs require it. Yeah, I would agree. I'm just trying to be honest. If I'm a firm owner and you're coming to me talking about you love financial services, this is all you can think about, blah, 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 and then you haven't taken the SIE, I'm like, what are you waiting on? This is an exam that does not require sponsorship. Why haven't you, paid the $65 and sat for the exam to pass? I'm sorry. If somebody else is sitting in my lobby and they've already taken it, I'm giving them the thumbs up probably. So you got to think about it from that standpoint. This is an investment in yourself. It's like the first domino to knock over. So I definitely agree with you, Patrick, there. Kenneth says, we do at my firm. I missed this question. Hold on a second. We do at my firm experienced and non-experienced. Good afternoon, guys. I did not understand that question. Maybe you can rephrase that. Patrick Pugh, it pays to know what type of advisor you wish to be. There's a big difference. Yes, I agree. So all that is great information, and I would agree. I highlight a lot of this stuff in my 20 tips or 20 myths exposed about financial advice and financial advisors, and also the 10 tips guide. So both of them are available in my coaching lab, which I can talk about at the end. So let's hit this soft cost. Okay, so what are soft costs? I think there's a couple ways to measure this. The first way I think to measure this is to know yourself a little bit better. And I know that's a very vague statement, so I'm about to break that down. So you really have to start to know yourself around what you're willing to pay in exchange for. And this is a term that is used in economics called opportunity cost, right? So I have choice A, B, C, D in front of me, like really A through infinity nowadays. And like, what are the consequences / benefits associated with choice A versus choice B versus choice C? Like, that is just a logic map at its very basic. And what I would say is, to anybody that's trying to jump into this field, you have to measure that, right? What are the benefits of me making, let me just throw something out. What are the benefits of me making 6 figures in a job that I hate for the next 20 years versus making 40% of that for the first year or two, maybe more, depending on my development into a new field, versus, and then following my passion and pursuing that and being much more fulfilled in life and happy? That could be quantified pretty highly depending on where you are in life, right? I give the example, and I talk about this in my in the Make the Leap webinar, that, you know, I took a pay cut to do what I'm doing now. And I've taken a pay cut several times in my career. This most recent time I took a pay cut to start my own firm, which was 4 years ago now. And now, granted, like, I'm back to a point of financial stability, but there was that in between time that was kind of scary. But I'm gonna tell you, in exchange for the paycheck that I left behind, what I was able to do is have freedom over my time. And I used that freedom over my time in several ways, one of which was to coach my daughter during track season. So, I mean, like, the time that we spent together, the bond that we created, the fact that she, you know, back-to-back high jump champion, like, all this stuff, I can't quantify. I can't write a number on that. And that's an opportunity cost that I had to make the choice of. So I think everybody has to go through those own self-actualization exercises to kind of figure out, like, do you have enough money to live right now? And if you do, can you afford to make the pivot? And if you can afford to make the pivot, how do you want to do that? So that's where you start to have it. Like, the soft cost exercise is so much more difficult than the hard cost, because you have to really start to understand who you are as a person and what you want to get out of life, specifically what you want to bring to this profession and how you want to help people, and also have some benefit for yourself. So I think from that standpoint, soft costs are really hard to measure, but some things you can do tangibly. I'll start giving you these exercises. Like, you can do personality tests. Personality tests that help you uncover your why you tick, the type of person you are, how you can, you know, kind of better improve, you know, have other people that don't have any vested interest in, well, let me rephrase that. Have people that have a vested interest in your outcome, but that are able to speak into your life from a standpoint that you will not criticize them and you will listen to what they say. Have them give you perspective on what you do well, your strengths and your weaknesses. These are really, really good exercises for you to do, because as a financial advisor, and I read a tweet this today by Dr. Brad, and I was like, this is right on the money. And the fact that, like, we're highly paid therapists. Well, I guess highly paid is relative depending on what you charge. But the point is you are paid to listen as a financial advisor. You're paid to ask very good questions to help people achieve a goal or objective. That's pretty much it. Like, the money, all the other stuff is ancillary. It's definitely necessary, but it's not the first thing. Like, most people, when they die, they don't really care if a Brinks truck is following the hearse or not. They don't really care. They care about the impact and the influence and the legacy they left to whoever they care about or whatever causes they care about. And usually that means that they have to get really clear on their purpose and how they're going to achieve that. And they need goals and objectives and a plan. That's why financial advice is so crucial if you do it the right way. If you're just pushing products without any purpose or any, rationale behind why people need them, that's what gives financial advice a bad name. And I know I'm going down a rabbit trail a little bit, but I think this needs to be said for anybody that's watching that wants to be a financial professional that's aspiring right now, is you have to know why you're doing this. And so this soft cost exercise is really deep. It's going to take you some time to kind of work through this, and you're going to probably need a guide or some help to help you get to the right type of answers. That's why I am so big on mentorship, because mentors will give you a perspective that you won't often, I always say coaches and mentors see the potential that we don't often see in ourselves. So you have to, kind of be open to that kind of stuff, and you have to be coachable. You can't be in love with your own opinion about yourself or about your limitations and your abilities. So journaling helps. This is another tool. So, personality assessments, getting that outside perspective with mentorship, just accountability period. Journaling helps. Study groups are really key. Like, so if you can find a group of like-minded people that are on the same journey as you, that you can share wins and losses with and keep each other accountable. Well, study groups are a little bit different than an accountability group or any type of other thing, because usually it's much smaller and you have an objective. There's a start and there's a finish. Like we're starting this date, and by this date we want to finish with this particular thing. So that's the difference there on those. So I would definitely keep that in mind when it comes to how those work. So, all right, cool. Let's so that's kind of soft costs. I think you just have to, don't underestimate the time requirement that needs to go into uncovering that for you, because that work, that self-work is going to help you so much down your path as a financial advisor. So I hope that helps. Okay, let's get into some questions. Let's see. I think I left off with Blue Devil. Patrick, I think I got your question. If not, just throw it down there and I will get back to it. In general sense, how long do you think someone should work under an experienced advisor before attempting to break off on their own? Hey, Blue Devil, thanks for watching on YouTube. I appreciate you. This is hard to say. I used to have a hard and fast rule of 5 years that you need to work under somebody or in some environment. And I don't deviate from that too much. I think the exception would be if you are really good at business development and you could, as Sandra Davis would say, sell sand in the desert to someone, then I think your path is going to be a lot quicker than that. And it's for a couple of reasons. It's not just because you can sell your butt off, but this business is about clients. If you don't get clients at the end of the day, there is no business. So usually you can find yourself in roles that will move you along. Let's think about this from a practical standpoint. The more you're in front of people, the more experience you're going to have, the more success you're going to have, the more case studies you're going to see, and you're going to learn more faster. It's almost like Neo in the Matrix, where he was like, they inserted the little thing and he went in there, he learned Kung Fu in like 5 minutes. Like, the more reps you have at stuff, you're going to be better at it. If you go to the gym every day, you're going to be better than somebody that goes twice a month. So if you're good at business development and you're always in front of people, you're seeing prospects all the time, you're hearing no, like, you're going to become a better advisor faster. So that would be the caveat. If you can do that well, you don't need 5 years, like I say. But I would say the average person probably takes somewhere between 4 to 5 years under somebody's season before they go break out on their own. And they know, because here's what I say also, Blue Devil, is that the skill set for running a financial services firm as a business owner, entrepreneur, is a different skill set than just learning the industry. Two totally different things. And I always, almost always admonish people not to try to do both at the same time, because you will hurt yourself. So, I mean, if you're really good at business development, it maybe makes sense to do that under somebody for, 2, 3 years, however long that takes, get really good at it, and then say, oh, I'm gonna branch off on my own. And build you enough financial margin, runway, blah, 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 all that to do whatever you need to do. But yeah, a business owner skill set is totally different than just being a financial advisor. It's just totally different. Okay, but great question. I love it. All right, Kenneth, we take the chance to teach experienced agents and non-experienced agents. I am. Oh, okay, so maybe you're just talking about your firm, like what you do at your firm. So that's great. If you're educating, agents, people coming into the industry that are not experienced, that's great. It's just, teaching people to do the right thing. I often say, if this is where you're going with this question, Kenneth, or at least comment, it's hardly ever, let's put it that way. It's hardly ever bad product. It's mostly bad person. So there's always, most of these companies wouldn't make products if they wouldn't sell, because it just doesn't make sense. They got to do stuff that impacts the bottom line positively. So hardly ever is there's a bad product. There's very often a bad person that has the wrong motivation, wrong incentive, wrong whatever, fill in the blank, that's trying to push something, kind of like square peg, round hole type of deal, to somebody that doesn't need it. So that's what I would say about that. Okay. Where would we find more information on that soft cost exercise? Okay, so this is actually inside of my Facebook group. So Marquez, you are in the right place because you're in Jumpstart. So you're going to be hearing it often. I would say number one for anybody, and let me zoom out just a second. So to set this up for anybody that's joining, I strongly believe that there are two costs that you incur in becoming a financial advisor. It's the hard cost that we talked about in the first half of this, and then it's the soft cost that we're kind of talking about right now. I think the best way to navigate how your journey happens as you incur those costs, because you will incur them, is just partner with somebody that really knows what they're talking about. Be connected to a community of people that are moving in the right direction. So one big start, if you're in Jumpstart, would be to do, if you're aspiring and you're not in the industry already, you definitely need to be on the Make the Leap webinar. I'm doing another one this Saturday at 1 p.m. So you can register. I'll throw up the website in just a second, but that's one place you definitely need to go, because I start to uncover a lot of these nuggets in that, along with giving my own story. So that's probably what you need to do, because sometimes the soft cost, yes, you can do it on your own, but doing stuff on your own it's always been overrated. Pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps is, hard. To say the least. Why would you want to do it if somebody's already kind of, it's almost like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. You're just chopping through, jungle with a big machete. Why would you do that if it's a paved road on the other side of the jungle? Walk down the paved road is kind of what I'm saying. And what I'm building in Jumpstart, I've been doing for a while now. It's the paved road. So follow the paved road. Some of the stuff will be free. Some of the stuff will be not free. And then you can make a decision on what you want to do. But I think the Make the Leap webinar is a good start for starting to find the ways that you can evaluate these soft costs. Now, there's plenty of what am I trying to say? Personality assessments that you can use. I like Strengths Finders. That's one. There's a bunch of free ones out there that you can use to kind of start to look at yourself internally. There's tons of books. I know I've done at least two podcasts on the top reading list for financial advisors or aspiring financial advisors that I would recommend. So those are all good starts for you if you want to do it on your own. But if you want to go the paved road, I would definitely do the Make the Leap webinar. All right, let's get back to questions. But great one, Marquez. I appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, that was you. Michael, what's going on? Does wealth management have a lot of cold calling? I guess it depends on the firm you work for. It's a really hard question to answer, but I'll do my best. I think there are a couple of different ways to get in front of a client. Let's go from that angle. Okay. So you have cold calling, obviously, which is people have zero context about who you are. Maybe you can say, hey, this is Michael with Fidelity, and the firm has brand recognition. So they connect the dots and therefore you're in, but then that's going to be a numbers game when it comes to how many people you actually got to dial before you hear yes or maybe. So that's one way. It's not bad. It's just antiquated. And there's so many different ways to do it. Right. So that would be the one way. The other way would be to do seminars and things of that nature. That's another thing that people do to warm people up, because there's this whole process, and I talk about this inside my course. But the person that is going to consume financial services or financial products that you offer or that your firm offers has to have a need. Like, for a person that has enough life insurance, for you to try to sell them more life insurance, it's going to be a hard sell. But for a person that doesn't have enough, and then you start asking the right type of questions to have them sitting there going, like, for instance, you might say, like, when's the last time you've been in a funeral and you're listening to the eulogy and you're thinking, is my house in order? Like, if you ask that question to somebody, like, that brings it home to them to be like, yeah, maybe I do need to have a conversation about this. Or, what's going on with COVID right now? When's the last time you've evaluated your insurance situation? Because everything is pointing to the fact that insurance underwriting will be more difficult, which means it would be more expensive for you to protect the things that you love going forward. Should we have a conversation? So these are the type of things that you want to say to people to get them to say, okay, I want to hear more, type of deal, right? So there's so many different things you can do besides cold calling. Obviously, there's content marketing, which I do a ton of, because I believe that's one of the best ways to build trust, build rapport, show your authority. So there's all kinds of stuff there. So does wealth management have a lot of cold calling? Maybe, but I would say if you're going to a firm that makes you cold call, you probably want to find another place to work. Just to be honest, I don't know that you would want to work there if they're going to make you cold call. So that's just my 2 cents. All right, but thanks, Michael. I appreciate the question. Okay, to get clients, or do they give, or do they get given to you by older advisors? Yeah, it all depends on firm culture. Most firms are concerned with gathering assets and or clients. So a lot of the roles for wealth management firms, financial advisors, period, will be concentrated around business development, client acquisition, production, whatever term you want to throw in there, but selling. Okay. So to get comfortable with it, at least the framework of how it works, what causes people to move and actually buy, make a decision, is good for you to know. Whether you're going to be in a direct role doing that or not is going to be up to your journey. But to be familiar with the prospect's journey and the emotional triggers that cause somebody to reevaluate their situation and possibly do business with you, I think is a very, very useful skill to know. Whether you're employing it every day to, shake the bushes and get your own clients or not. That would just be my opinion on that. I think that's something everybody needs to know. And unfortunately, to take this somewhere else that you might not have been trying to go, Michael, is I think the financial industry has not done the best job painting what I just said. Like, I think they don't give you the full picture. And I think largely there's not enough firms talking about how that's a crucial component in the whole cycle of the client, just as important as anything else. If a person doesn't come through the door because of the fact that you gave them a good, pitch or offer, then there is no business to be had. It's going to go to the next person, or they're going to do it on their own and screw it up or whatever. So there's a lot of benefits to be told besides, hey, go sell as much as life insurance to your top 100 friends and family as you can. Like that narrative does nothing to help the industry. Matter of fact, it scares people away, which is probably the reason why you're asking this question. I don't know, but like, I get a lot of these questions where people are scared of selling. And I think it's because the industry hasn't done the best job in articulating the whole cycle and telling you everything that goes into it, because in most instances, they're fighting over they're fighting using marketing dollars over assets instead of education. So that's kind of what my platform is about, is more about education, because I think if you're interested in this career, it behooves you to know enough about it before you kind of just jump wide in. Anyways, that's me. Okay, so Patrick says, what would you say are the best qualities for a new financial planner to have in order to build up their brand? So let me give you some examples of what I see people doing well. First of all, it would be content marketing. If you're doing a good job content marketing, then I think those are good qualities developed. And then that has to do with whether or not you're doing it on your own or not, right? Because if, like, say, for instance, you go work for firm XYZ, they may have a policy, a social media policy that's more restrictive, and they don't allow you to say some of the stuff that I've just said that you can possibly use with clients. They don't want you to do that, because if everybody in their firm took that same license and liberty, they would be out of business, because they would get fined or whatever. I don't know, all their reasons. But the point is it depends on the structure that you're in. You would typically find that more independent firms, RIAs, registered investment advisory firms, have a more, let's call it, lenient structure when it comes to social media. That's not a hard and fast rule. It's just like more lenient than the big, conglomerate firm, branded firm that you see doing commercials every 5 seconds. So those qualities on being able to content market, to talk about yourself. So I've had Jacqueline Shattuck on this podcast some months ago. If you follow her, I think it's Jacqueline Plans on Instagram. To me, she does an excellent job, and she's inside a firm. Like, she doesn't have her own business. At least the last time I talked to her, she doesn't. She works for a firm, but she does excellent job in promoting herself as a financial professional, and highlighting things that clients would want to know about. So definitely go follow her. She's worth a follow, just to kind of see how I think it's done in a good way. There are others. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now that I would recommend, but I think that's a good person for you to follow. Definitely. Dr. Brad, that I interviewed also on my podcast. I'm going to give me just a second here. We're just in the Q&A part. So I guess I'm free to do what I want. It's my show, right? I can do whatever I want. Where is that episode at? Give me a second, guys. Here, hold on a second. The reason why I want to bring this up, because Dr. Brad is doing a bang up job on TikTok. I don't do TikTok. Here it is. Here's the episode. Go watch this episode right here. I'm gonna throw this in the chat. I wouldn't throw it in the chat. I need to throw it. Give me a second here. I need to throw it in the banner. But go and watch this episode, because this lets you know about Dr. Brad. But go follow him on I don't know why I did that, because I don't even think you copy paste that. Anyways, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm tired, guys. So go look at Dr. Brad. Go follow him on TikTok, or go watch the YouTube episode. I think I have links to his social media, like LinkedIn or something like that. And then you can probably find his TikTok handles through there. But he's doing a bang up job on TikTok with what I'm talking about. It's an excellent example of content marketing that clients resonate with. And he's doing it on a platform that's hot right now, that everybody's familiar with. So I would definitely go look at that. So best qualities, definitely be human. Definitely follow those people that I talked about. And then I would say maybe, work on your EQ. Not to say you don't have any, but like something that I think financial advisors don't think about enough is what it feels like to be on the other side of the table as a client or a prospective client. And let me unpack that a little bit as I kind of come to a close or bring this thing into a landing. So let's say that you have a potential client that has either zero history or a bad history of financial advising. Maybe they were dealt with wrong, or they have some type of negative experience or zero experience. How do you think that person needs to be dealt with, and how do they need to feel. Like, think about your first time for anything. Like maybe when you first went to the doctor or something like that, and the type of bedside manner that the doctor had with the patient, as far as asking you questions, making you feel comfortable, hands not cold, blah, 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 all the different stuff that goes into making that experience. I would really, really get good at that part and study people that do it well, because to me, that's the X factor right there. Clients want to know that you care. You know the saying, I don't know who coined it, but people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. That's very, very true in this industry. So I think you have to be thinking about, and that to me, that all falls up under EQ, right? So think about what it feels like to sit on the other end of the table as a person needing financial advice, having questions, not wanting to be talked down to, but not wanting to use such big words that they don't understand, and breaking it down so they understand, asking questions, letting them talk, listening, blah, blah, blah. All those qualities are so crucial. So that's what I would say as far as best qualities. Would you say the CFP exam is required in the long run? In what way? The short answer would be no. Why? Why would you think it would be required is the question that would be my follow-up question, Luke. Why would you say it's required? In what regard? I'll hang on for just a second longer to unpack that. Like, I can give you an answer that's in my head, but I want to make sure I answer your question. Because there's a lot of misnomers there. There's a lot of, what's the word? There's a lot of supposition in your question. Let's put it that way. So, at least from my standpoint, or at least from, my perspective. You're welcome, Patrick. Daniel says eventually, I think and I'm assuming you're saying it, meaning the CFP could become the industry standard. Yeah, maybe. And even with that, though, you got to kind of watch how you're phrasing that. And this is what I mean by that, because having done this for some time now, what I do realize is most of the stuff that you will ever learn in any type of financial planning program. Okay, so Luke, you give me more context. I was just thinking in the same sense that it will take you further in your career. Maybe. And this is where I'm going with this, guys. I want everybody to hear me here. So Daniel, I know you. You're in my in my Facebook group, and you're already a financial professional. I don't know you right now, Luke. So I'm going to speak to you as though as I would anybody that I'm trying to help. So most of what you will ever learn in a financial planning program, a graduate degree, a CFP, a CHFC, a CFA, any of that kind of stuff is going to be, for all intents and purposes, so much more than your client will ever need to know from a conversational standpoint. Like, they just don't need to know. I was talking to a client the other day, a potential client the other day. It's going to be so funny if she's watching this. But she was like, I never looked at it from that standpoint. I kind of now know how the sausage is being made. Like, it makes you not want to eat it as much when you know how the sausage is being made. And so, like, that was just the level that our conversation got to. But I would say 99% of prospective clients don't want to know how the sausage is made. And so what that means is a lot of the stuff that we learn as financial advisors, although it does equip us to do a good job, like, I think you just need to think about it from the standpoint of, what do I need to know in order to help the client get to their goal versus what do I need to know, or what am I doing just to make me feel comfortable and confident and, basically stroking your ego. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that those may be two different things. What you need to know to feel comfortable sitting across from a client as a financial advisor may be the CFP, but what the client actually needs to accomplish the plan may not be CFP, or it may be 1% of what you learn in that program. That's all I'm saying. And that's just from doing this for years and years and years, because at the end of the day, people are humans. Like, it's very simple. Like, I have limited money. I have limited time. I have seemingly unlimited choices. Help me devise a plan to help me keep focus on the things that are important to me while I spend my limited currency of time and money. That's it. That's all it is. Can you use that? Can you fix that problem with CFP? Yes. Can you fix that problem with CFA? Yes. Can you fix that problem with CHFC? Yes. Can you fix that problem with just Life Health 766? Yes. The answer is yes. So that's why I always harp on the experience part of it. Like, you just need to get in there and start doing reps. You need to see clients. You need to ask questions. You need to get your reps under you, because once you start to have enough client interactions and prospective client interactions, you're going to feel more confident. And like, I'll just tell you right now, clients can kind of care less what designations you have. That's just been my experience. They don't really care. By and large, they don't care. Like, there are some people that are like, are you CFP? Are you? And those are the same people that go to the doctor and try to see if they went to, they studied at Johns Hopkins, Duke, or, down the street at the, the state school. Like, that's the minority of people wanting to be served. So I'll get off my hoppy horse, but that's what I would say about that. There's a lot of fanfare around designations, not just the CFP. For good reason. And it's not to say that they're bad. I want you to hear me. I'm not poo-pooing these designations. I'm just telling you what actually moves the needle for clients is not your designation. It's just not. So, and so will it take you further in your career? Maybe, but not, I would almost say no, it wouldn't. The CFP won't take you further in your career. How you treat clients, the results you get for them will take you further in your career. So that's what I would say about that. All right. So I think that this has been great. Hopefully this has been helpful. So a couple of things. You're welcome, Luke. We're going to do like a part 2 of this. Like I said at the top of this, my goal is to try to get people that have walked the CFP journey, so you can kind of hear their stories in regards to some of the costs that they incurred on that journey. That's my goal. And I think I can accomplish that by mid to late June, probably later June. So definitely stay tuned for part 2. It's going to be a different type of animal than what we've covered today, because this has largely just been my opinion. But I know you guys value that, so I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying it is just my opinion. But I want to get some other perspectives, potentially people that have, like I said, already crossed the bridge of, passing the exam. Maybe they haven't earned the right to use the marks yet, but they've passed the exam. They've done the education part, and they can kind of speak from that. So hopefully all that is helpful. I think that's it, guys. So we will talk to you soon. Thank you for joining the live stream. Thank you for all your questions, and we will see you next Wednesday. Peace.